Entertalk Radio, you're in to all things music.
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, happy Friday, everybody. You are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. And I am Scott, your host, and a man who pays far too much in property taxes to have to wear a long-sleeve shirt. I'm looking for a refund. I'm looking at you, Sacramento. I'm like, you got to do something about the global cooling here. And with me in the booth to talk about the global cooling and all of the issues at hand is Paul B. Paul, how are you doing? Do you have to wear a jacket today?
Yeah, I did, like a winter jacket. Like, it was no joke. It's windy here. I'm not happy. This is not what I moved down here for.
Exactly. I'm like, it's a global cooling. It's like, it's far too cold in California right now, and we're all just grumpy because of it. I blame China. I don't know about you, but
just as a default position.
Just yeah. I mean, I'm sure China's behind it.
They have to be either that or the Russians.
The Russians are like, now you see what it's like. You will freeze to death. Who knows? Hey, folks, that's why I'm wearing a jacket on Periscope. You guys see me and you're like, hey, Scott's wearing a jacket today. Because it's cold, man. It's bad. We don't like it. If you want to reach me, here's how. You can reach me at scott@robertsoncom, 2Ms, communications.com, or Robertson.com website. My contact information is all over that place. And also on social media, on Twitter at Robertson.com and Facebook.com/Robertson.com. Like I said, we're streaming on Periscope. Welcome to all you Periscope people out there that check this out either live or later. And hi to all of you guys. We are here. It is episode 78 of The Big Show, and it is this one I just call measurement. We're going to talk about all things related to measurement. You know, what in marketing, there's kind of a saying that says what gets measured gets managed, and that is definitely true. You know, but you know, how do we measure marketing success or failure in a given organization? You know, what are those key metrics today that need to be watched? Also, which ones do we not need to watch? You know, we're overloaded with data these days, and you want to make sure that you're paying attention to the right stuff. You know, I'm going to talk about all this stuff, share some answers with all this stuff. And you know, this episode, I want to share with you has been already nominated for a Tony Award. We're fingers crossed. We're hoping, you know, there's a lot of production that goes into this and a lot of choreography, dance moves, original song creation, of course. And so we're really hoping for that Tony this time around. You're in the right place if you want to talk about marketing, communications, and all what's wrong and what's right with it. And so we're going to do that in segment 2, dig into that. And I'm going to give you some real world 2008 measurement tips and tricks that will hopefully you can use to kind of make sense of this wonderful world called measurement. So, you know, the first thing I probably want to say about measurement is it is the fifth step in any strategic planning process. It is also the most overlooked step. It is also the step that is, it's very easy to get going on the next thing and forget to measure the last thing. Trade shows are a great example of that. Everybody goes to the NAMM show. We come back to the NAMM show. It's such a massive effort to get there and get everything, you know, set up and have all the conversations with people. And then it just takes a physical toll on you. And you come back and it's very easy to move right past measuring how that all went and move into the next thing. But measurement's real important, because if you do it right, it shows you what you should be doing the next time. Very, very important. So Periscope just showed me to take a big drink of water there. I apologize. But the first thing I think I want to tackle here in this segment is I want to talk about advertising equivalency. So in public relations, for the longest time, and certainly is used many other times, see, when you advertise in a magazine, you know how much that costs. They say, we can sell it to you by the half page, the quarter page, the full page, that kind of thing. And there's there's a page rate that's assigned to all, print advertising. Same thing with TV, same thing with radio, 30-second spot costs this, 15-second spot costs this. We all understand that at a sort of a basic level. At some point in the PR profession, they said, well, let's just measure what we do, which is to get earned media, especially into, those type of outlets. And then we'll just assign a price tag with it based on what you would have paid to get your message, across, which sounds really logical. And it sounds like a good, kind of a good thing to do. But, and I'm just going to kind of give you the case for and the case against advertising equivalency. Today in 2018, we're talking about this 10 years ago. You're going to find a lot more favorable people being a lot more favorable towards advertising equivalency than you do today. The case for it is it assigns a quantifiable number in a realm where it's hard to quantify things. It gives us, as human beings, it gives us kind of a feeling of safety and security, being able to say, well, it would have cost us $1,500 to advertise in that magazine. We got a story. So logically, that story's worth, at least $1,500. And then for over the years, public relations had done, some multipliers. Oh, well, PR is worth more than advertising because it's believed more. So now it's worth 5 times as much. And now we take the $1,500 and now that's actually, it's worth 5 times $1,500, in this campaign. And you see some crazy, metrics being assigned to that. But in this day and age, and it's a decent, it is a metric. It is not what I would say is what you're getting in terms of public relations. It's a very surface level way to look at public relations. The case for it says it's quantifiable. It's a number. Even people who don't understand what PR is worth will certainly understand what this money would be worth. And it's a very logical sort of argument. The case against it kind of goes like this. Basically, it basically says public relations is worth much more than that. It's worth much more than the fact that we all know that advertising has kind of a limited effectiveness, but PR can move somebody down the funnel, from awareness to a purchase decision in one touch. Advertising, it's unlikely that's going to happen. So, how do you sort of quantify that? And then so that's what's going on with the AVES, advertising equivalent assessment kind of metrics. And some PR firms measure, using that. I liked, and there are a lot of other vanity metrics, by the way. Social media is filled with vanity metrics. When you open up your Google Analytics page, the first thing you see is page views. How many people viewed our website? And then people say, oh, page views are up. Okay, great, whatever. And that's a vanity metric, right? How many people like a story that you posted? That's a vanity metric. It makes you feel good, and you're high-fiving yourself and saying, "Aren't I good? Aren't I handsome? Aren't my kids cute?" Blah blah blah. From the business side of things, aren't we great? Aren't people engaged with us? That kind of thing. But it doesn't really tell us what we want to know from sort of a behavioral science, marketing perspective. So measurement is detective work. There's a lot of people that don't believe that's true, and they're like, oh, measurements like, oh, we're gonna hand it to the lowest person, the least junior person, or the least senior person on the team, the most junior person, and say, okay, we're gonna do clip reports and we're gonna measure these things, and then you get us the measurement, and then we'll have a conversation with the client. But real measurement requires a great deal of analytical skill. It requires a great deal of understanding what it is that you were trying to do when you started, what it is that you did, what was the impact of it. It's like, if you ever read a scientific report of like what a scientist tried to do. Our hypothesis was if we inject the gerbil with this crazy formula, it was going to grow fangs and start craving human blood. We injected the gerbil, and it was fun. It was awesome. We had a good time doing it, to be honest. And then the gerbil freaked out, and yes, it did grow fangs. It did start to crave human blood. It was awesome. I mean, I was there. It was pretty cool to watch. And then it broke out of its cage, And now, of course, we believe we have a serum that could turn any animal into a crazy vampire or zombie animal. So our scientific hypothesis was proved, actually, that this formula XP109 or whatever, was that. That's how scientists do it. In marketing, we do it the same way. We say we have an audience that either has a baseline of awareness about us. We're going to do a campaign. We're going to insert a stimulus into that kind of behavioral cycle, and then we're going to see how they react, how they behave, what the conversation is like. Really, really, really important stuff when you think of it in that way. Most important question to be asking in measurement is, what are we going to change based on what we learn? Because if you're spending all this time and money, and measurement can be expensive, baby. I've had programs where the measurement cost more than the actual creation of the program, which is weird. And if you're in a situation like that, you're like, well, maybe we should just skip the measurement part because we're going to save money. But what you also save, in addition to money, is you won't be able to justify what you did or know really what you did. And when it comes to that, if you don't do some of those more expensive measurement tactics. So real measurement, detective work. Let's talk about a couple good questions that we want to be asking. And some of this is kind of keyed towards social media, but I'll try to make it, like any earned media, any PR. You can say, what type of content does the audience seem to prefer? Are they engaging more with pictures, with video, with blogs? And you can do this as a small focus group too. If you're a PR agency, you can ask this question about your small focus group, which is the press that you're trying to reach the larger audience with. And you can say, are they engaging more with photos? So you can do measurement of your, of your media audience as well. And sometimes that can be really an interesting conversation as well. On social media, another good question to ask is, what's the ratio of likes to comments? If you get a bunch of likes on something, but what you're really interested in is what are our folks commenting on? What is the conversation looking like? Because ultimately you want to make sure if you go back to the communication model, you've got sender, receiver, and the arrows. The arrow is the message and goes from the sender to the receiver. And then there's a feedback loop. Well, this measurement stuff that we're always talking about is that feedback loop. Anything that can be used to get smarter so that the next time that you send out a message, maybe you're a little bit better at it, that kind of thing. Really, really, it's really, really important stuff, and it needs to be thought of in that capacity. Again, I opened up the show by saying it's the fifth step in the communication process, and it just can't be ignored. And it also just can't be a Google Analytics page, folks, because I've seen agencies that send like a Google Analytics page, or they send like a list of articles. Here's why you can't just send a list of articles. Unless you have to have a conversation about, and what did that do? Where are we with that? What exactly happened here? Again, just don't forget about the gerbil analogy and the scientist thing. I always say that marketing is, half art, half science. You don't want to forget the science piece. And when you're doing real measurement stuff, and in particular, again, always leading to potential changes that you're going to do the next time you communicate, right? We do this as individuals. If you go into a conversation with a bunch of people at church, and you tell a dirty joke, and you fly in a bunch of curse words, and they give you some body language and start looking down and avoiding your stare and try to get away from you as soon as possible, then the next time that you engage with that group, you're probably, you're naturally going to understand that the feedback that they gave you is going to change the way that you approach them the next time. Human beings are automatically wired to be able to do this, but organizations don't seem to be, because they have lists of marketing stuff that just absolutely needs to get out and absolutely needs to get done. And then they sort of forget why it is that we're doing any of this. To me, some of the most interesting conversations that you can have in marketing are the conversations that go, okay, did that work? Did we start to initiate more conversations about our topic on that? Did we make, some people aware, and where did that awareness take us? There are different stages sort of in the funnel, right? But if you have a brand new customer that's just that you're just building a relationship with, then obviously everything's new to them, and you're creating awareness with them with that. So anyway, good important stuff to keep in mind when you're designing your own measurement strategy. And I'm always available via email, by the way. If you have a particular question on measurement or any other aspect of this fun stuff, you can always email me, because it is sort of individual. I work with 7 or 8 clients, and every measurement is a little bit different for different clients because they have different goals. You don't have the same measurement because maybe the goals are, this particular client is working to, build up its awareness with this particular audience. Let's say it's DJs. They're working to be much more known in the DJ space. Well, that's great. So our hypothesis is that DJs are going to like this stuff, and we're going to, start introducing, these products to DJs and see what, what shakes loose with that, right? See what happens. A couple of other questions that you want to be asking, as you're looking at all your channels. Look at what the sentiment is of your different mentions. Is it positive? Is it, is it positive, negative, or neutral? Is the best way to rank it on an Excel spreadsheet? It's really, really important that we don't forget about sentiment, that we don't forget that just because you hit somebody with a message that it's going to be positive and everybody's going to be, hanging out and riding unicorns, through a rainbow forest. It's like there are some times that a message hits people and it falls flat, or it turns downright negative. And I always say that communications is, can be a very risky thing. You're out there communicating, you're out there, you're putting yourself out there, you're taking a risk, with a position, one way or another. And it has an inherent risk to it. But I think it's really, really important to know, what you're doing, to measure what you're doing, and to change what you're doing based on what you learned through that measurement. And you are tuned to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. Come on back. We're going to talk about who's winning and losing this week in the wonderful world of marketing. We'll see you in just a few minutes. Thanks.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time, or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Entertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on EnterTalkRadio.com.
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, happy birthday. Happy birthday. Happy Friday. Happy birthday. I don't even know where that came from. This is Scott, your host of May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. Maybe it's Paul's birthday. Maybe is Paul's it your birthday?
Sadly, no. It was just a Freudian slip on your part.
It should be. I was looking at all the birthdays on Facebook today, so my mind was slipping. Hey, so we're talking about measurement, Paul.
It's important. It's important to get measured.
Well, there are many dudes that did not look forward to that conversation.
It's not a competition.
It's not a competition.
No, but you're absolutely right. Especially on social media, there's all this stuff that a lot of it can be cosmetic. The important thing is the interaction and the feedback, and is this generating an actual conversation and communitizing your audience? If it's just, you could fudge numbers like all day long on social media. And
it's true.
And it's not hard to see through if you know what you're looking for.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And as social media is with us longer and longer, we get smarter and smarter as marketers as to kind of how to use it and what those good metrics, should be. And it changes a lot too. Well, let's dig into who is winning and losing this week. I got to start with Gibson, I guess. Lots more, as we talked about in the show last week, lots of negative press about their financial position these days. And Gibson issued a statement about their financial situation. And, the trades have been kind of going over this, with the fine-tooth comb. Again, we talked about last week, things to learn from Gibson's situation is that you always want to get back to your hometown. You always want to get back to your hometown papers and media, especially, and have an opportunity to tell the story. Just real quickly on that subject, I saw a viral video with in the wake of the Parkland, shooting, over the last couple of weeks. There was kind of an ambush journalism piece where these reporters would show up and to a lot of these congressmen and senators in Washington and kind of do the Michael Moore thing where they ambush them and put a camera in their face and be like, what are you going to do besides thoughts and prayers for these families? What are you going to do about guns and that kind of thing? And really just ask them these ambushy kind of questions, while they're getting in the elevator, the private elevators, between the Capitol and between the different buildings, all around the nation's capital there in D.C. And, I was thinking about that as a PR person. It came up in a networking event that I was doing this week, and they said, well, Scott, how would you handle that? Or how would you advise the congressman to do? I'll tell you how you don't handle it. You don't run away. You don't run away. You don't say no comment. You don't do any of those kind of things. It's totally appropriate to turn around to the camera and go, hey, that's a really good question. I am on my way somewhere, as you might imagine. You just grab me in the hallway. But can we set up a time that we can actually talk about this, and where I have time to compose my thoughts and you have time, to not catch me in a hallway, that kind of thing, which is going to be better for the listening audience and get you the answers that you're looking for anyway. If you do something like that, at least it shows that you're open to a conversation, about it, and at least shows that you put one hand on the wheel and start to, control the message. How's it relate back to Gibson? Again, when you say no comment, when you say the company can't be reached, the company couldn't be reached for any kind of comment. Well, it's like, well, what does that mean? The company couldn't be reached. I mean, you're not all taking a holiday, right? No, but it's not. Oh, sorry, it's beach day at Gibson. We're at the beach today, so your operational questions about our company are just gonna have to wait. It's like, no, you intentionally didn't call back the press, which is dumb for a lot of reasons. But and again, you always want to open up a dialogue with somebody that's asking you questions. And if they're ambush journalism, if Michael Moore shows up tomorrow and starts asking me questions, I'm looking him in the eye, and I'm going, I'm sure I'm not running from my car and shutting the door and rolling the window up. Of all the people who are guilty of anything in the world, running to your car and rolling the window up is a great way to just look guilty, whether you could be, the most innocent person on the planet Earth, and you just look guilty. So this is my one tip, regarding engaging with people. Engage in the conversation. Public relations is about relationships. It is about being in the conversation. It is never appropriate not to return a press person's phone call. It is never appropriate to run away and roll up your window and try to drive away. You will look like, Charles Manson. It's like you don't do that. Don't do that stuff. In the wake of Gibson, I got to share with you a little bit of good news from one of my clients. BandLab Technologies today announced the acquisition of assets and the intellectual property from Cakewalk, which was from Gibson Brands. So it looks like Cakewalk is going to live again under my client, BandLab Technologies, which is really kind of exciting news for a lot of Cakewalk fans out there. And in the wake of the Gibson news, here's BandLab coming along, making some news of its own by acquiring some assets and intellectual property. So, anyway, yay for them or us or however you want to look at that. Like I said, I spent a lot of time getting that news out to my folks, my friends in the press today, and my friends in the press know that we will always talk about any subject, about any of my clients. We're always going to talk, and we're always going to be reached for comment because that's the respectful thing to do, is how I'll say that. So anyway, we're going to put BandLab in winning. We're going to put Gibson in losing. Here's a story that made some news. I'll just read you the headline from the Huffington Post. A farting passenger forces plane to make emergency landing. A flight from Dubai to Amsterdam had to make emergency landing in Vienna after a fight broke out because one of the passengers wouldn't stop breaking wind. Oh man. And it's Transavia Airlines. Two men sitting next to an apparently very flatulent man raised a stink. Oh, see what they did there? Oh, and you thought journalism was dead.
Come on.
And you thought journalism was dead. There it is. About his repeated gas attacks. This doesn't have that much to do with marketing in the sense, but just the fact that it penetrated the news in sort of I saw it a lot of different places. I think we're going to put Transavia Airlines, which I had not heard of until this story, by the way. We're going to put them in losing for not handling the story better. They had to actually land the plane because of a battle between the noisy and aggressive behavior that happens. I think we can put everybody anytime you have to do air travel in 2018, you're losing. You are. And maybe you're not dealing with this situation, but it's just worse and worse and worse. And then, I read on social media, a bunch of my friends, just my particular friends in my network, are having a lot of problems with Southwest Airlines losing bags. So I don't know. I commented on some of those stories because I was like, Southwest Airlines loses my bags about every third or fourth time too. But I already kind of have the expectations that, well, I'm not paying baggage fees or anything. And, you get what you pay for, I guess. And so I guess I have more limited expectations of what's going to go on Southwest Airlines flight. But Transavia Airlines didn't do a very good job of keeping this story out of the news and or even commenting about it. But of course, it appeared a lot of different places. I urge you to check out the rest of the story if you're super interested in it. It's I think you just Google farting passenger on plane and you'll probably be right there. You're probably right there with it, which would be good. That whole thing is all about losing. Say, speaking of losing, I got to talk about Cubo, the weird cat robot. Okay, so Cubo is a pillow that's covered in cat fur that has a robotic cat tail that you stroke in lieu of an actual cat. And the tail like it's robotic and everything, right? And it like makes purring sounds, and the tail sort of moves like a regular cat's tail moves, and that kind of thing. So it's like everything that you want from the back half of your cat. I guess that didn't sound good, but you know what I'm saying. But none of the front half, because you got no face, you got no ears, no nose. There's no head. It's a headless cat, ladies and gentlemen. It is a headless cat pillow with a wagging tail, and you got to put milestones out there as society falls further and further into a hole, so that then people, when they study you later, will know exactly where it went wrong. So to everyone listening in the future, this is one of those. We now have a pillow with a wagging cat tail that people stroke in lieu of an actual cat. This is a thing. This is a product. This is something that people have. This is scary. This is scary at a sociological level that I can't even begin to tell you. That's where we are, people. This is where we are. Society is at the point where we're stroking headless cat robots with wagging tails. Okay, I just want to throw that out there. It's end of February 2018, stroking headless cats. There you go. Losing, by the way, in case you couldn't tell from my tone, that's definitely losing. Twitter said on Wednesday that it would no longer allow people to post identical messages from multiple accounts, which is cracking down on a tactic that the Russian agents used to make tweets or topics go viral, especially if you have a bunch of different accounts and you have a dashboard set up and you can do a lot of things like that. So it will not allow people to use software to simultaneously perform other actions such as liking or retweeting from multiple accounts. So it's kind of interesting, right? I always think about it in terms of, I know a lot of marketing people that have a lot of dashboards, run multiple clients, have multiple accounts, have to, like and post and do a lot of things from a lot of different accounts. So to me, it's just going to make that job a lot harder after we just got dashboards set up that could manage all of that garbage. But I understand it too, because you can't have things artificially spreading and becoming trending topics and all these kind of things. Especially if you imagine you have people setting all these things up. Now imagine if you set up programs and bots to spread false stories. So you can do a lot of things. So I want to put Twitter in winning for being on top of that, and they're trying to improve what they quote unquote call information quality at the company. But anyway, I think it's interesting. I think we'll put Twitter in winning for that one. I think we can all agree that they're on top of it. Hey, podcast listeners are really the holy grail that advertisers hope they'd be, according to a story that appeared in I believe it was Mashable, and it's talking about the current. It's talking about the podcasts, and of course you're listening to one right now, so it is kind of appropriate. But it does seem like, from the data that is put out in this story, it seems like that. Especially because Apple just releases all of its podcast analytics feature. And podcast listeners are the hyper-engaged, super supportive audiences that everyone had really hoped. And it also shows that there's really not if you think that a lot of people think that the podcast boom really kind of started 2013, 2014 timeframe. But then they say, like everything, it's going to be a bubble. It's going to kind of fizzle out and phase out. But that hasn't been the case. And, podcast listeners are very engaged. They stick with the content. They stick with the shows that they like. Hopefully it's made the best brand win on Entertalk Media. That's what I'm talking about. We're out there trying to do good work out there. And I know there's a lot of great podcasts trying to do good work as well. But, from an advertiser standpoint, which I think is kind of fascinating, we basically have an audience that listens to every word, that's coming out of a host's mouth, and it gets excited about it, gets value out of it, and keeps coming back. And that's as long as you don't bombard people with too much marketing in between that, I think you'll be in pretty good shape. So we're going to put podcasting in winning, ladies and gentlemen. That's what I say. Let's talk about Black Panther for a second. So Black Panther, I went to see it last weekend, by the way, the Marvel movie, Black Panther. And it was really great. It was a great, great movie. I mean, very much, anchored in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Of course, we've seen this character, before in Captain America 3. Great casting, great acting. I thought it was a great story. Action was fine. I really enjoyed it. One thing that I've seen though is how many people have basically just said, "Oh, well, this is a landmark shift in Hollywood, and it's going to be huge, and just we've finally broken through some ceiling or something." I got to tell you, I saw Black Panther, and I did not think at one point, there wasn't one point in the movie where I was like, "Hey, almost the entire cast of this movie is African American." I didn't think that. I just thought, "Hey, here's a great movie that stars some great actors," and I don't. And I could be different. I could be, way on a limb here, but I don't consider skin color when I go to see a movie. I could care less what an actor's skin color is. And I think that some of the stories that are coming out about Black Panther, where they talk about, oh, Black Panther is this, and all of the, I particularly was offended when they said that all of the African Americans came out to see this movie. Do you honestly think that all African Americans went to see a movie just because people in the movie were the same skin color? Do Caucasians go to movies and just go, "Wow, what a great movie. It's all Caucasians." That's right. We don't care. As a society, allow me to throw out the thing and say, society doesn't care about that. We want to see a good movie. We don't care. We don't care what the, skin color, what the race is of anybody associated with that. And I think it's a really, actually, if you did that, if you went to see a movie because it features somebody of your skin color, that is the dictionary definition of racism, just so you know. That is actually what you would define as racism. If you do something based on, if you do something or don't do something based on the color of someone's skin, then you are acting as a racist. Okay? And all the stories about, about that were really weird to me. It's a weird tone about a movie that didn't need it, we didn't need to be talking about that topic, in my opinion. And you right now are listening to May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. Come on back, and I am going to give you some awesome tips to measure your ROI. See you in a few. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Tim Dolbear, the host of Sound Experience on Entertalk Radio. Each week, I talk with top professional audio engineers, producers, musicians, and the manufacturers that make the tools that we use in the studio each and every day. From capturing the perfect take to mastering your final release, and the tools and how the pros use them, we are going to dive deep into their process and learn from their experience. I look forward to you joining us each week on Sound Experience with me, your host, Tim Dolbear.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
Make this your vinyl night. I'm John J.R. Robinson, and every week, music creation comes alive through stories, experiences, and sounds when vinyl records filled our hearts and minds. My friends and I share our tips and techniques used in creation of iconic tracks for recording artists such as Michael Jackson, Eric Clapton, Quincy Jones, and Steve Winwood, to name a few. Vinyl has emerged hot, and the soul of vinyl defines art and passion which burns deepest at night. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on EntertalkRadio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?
May the best brand win with Scott Robertson's Music Biz Marketing Strategies. Now, here's your host, Scott Robertson.
Hey, happy Friday. You are back with segment 3 of May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media, the undisputed leader in music biz talk. We've just been talking about winning and losing, and it was quite a eclectic mix of stuff this week. Paul B's with us to tell us what his favorite was. So much to choose from.
I know, so many favorites. Well, I'm really glad to hear about Cakewalk being resurrected by BandLab.
That's fun.
Shout out to BandLab because I actually use Cakewalk myself for audio editing. And I was bummed out about that it was going to get killed off.
That's going to be really a lot of fun. I mean, BandLab does, BandLab is really a very interesting company. They're a very interesting client. They have a lot of they do things that are extremely newsworthy and interesting to talk about, which is certainly what you want. And I agree with you. I think I think BandLab's going to do great things with Cakewalk. It's going to be it's a good marriage. It'll be fun.
Yeah,
all right,
definitely.
Talk to me about the cat.
The cat. I saw that on your Facebook feed this morning. I was like, oh no way, this is crazy. Is that actually real cat fur? Or is it like fake? I don't know. I mean, I guess you can. I get it. Like you get the soothing effects of a cat without all the mess and having to feed it. But it's like you said, this is the downfall of the empire. It seems like.
It is. Somebody comes over to your house and they see this tribble-looking thing with a cat tail sticking off of it on your couch, and they're like, "What the hell is that?" What does that interaction look like to you when somebody finds your strokey cat pillow?
I don't know.
What does that cat look like? I mean, I thought the best band name in the world I came up with yesterday: Stroking Fake Cats.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Yeah.
If there's a band out there that needs a band name, call yourself Stroking Fake Cats, and then there you go. Fake,
and then just wait for stardom to land in your lap, like a fake cat.
Exactly. You'll see like NBC News go, and in other news today, the band Stroking Fake Cats scored a #1 single. I'm excited.
And then finally, I'm totally with you on the whole Black Panther thing. I saw it last week. We actually reviewed it on my podcast, Rec Reviews.
Right on.
Just the other day. And same thing. Like I get a sense of like there's so much of this fake manufactured stuff that's not real. It's not real to people. Like nobody cares. Like everyone is.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying there's no racism out there and it's not real, but the way they just like amplify these things, like there've been plenty of movies with black casts and black stars and themes, heavier and deeper than than Black Panther. Like this isn't the first time.
I know, and including Black Panther played a huge role in Captain America 3.
Yeah.
He was in the movie from the beginning of the movie to the end of the movie and he actually captures the bad guy. Yeah. So I'm sitting there going, we've seen Black Panther before, kids. We've seen it.
Yeah,
it was well done.
Only a second fiddle to a white dude running around in a Captain America suit.
Oh man, I don't even think so. Black Panther stole that movie. He was good. All right, well that's it for winning and losing, folks. We just beat that to death. Now we're going to talk about some. Let's talk about some tips to measure. This whole episode's been about measurement. We've been talking about measurement, how important it is, in particular, again, measurement so that we can possibly change what we're going to be doing the next time when we get ready to do some execution in terms of marketing tactics. So here are some tips to do your measurement and also to make sure that you're, to communicate your return on investment for anything that you're doing on the marketing side of things. Number one, do not be afraid of the results. Do not be afraid to measure because you're afraid of the results. And I've seen this time and time again where folks say, oh, well, we're afraid that we spent all this money and we didn't, and nothing happened. Okay, that would be bad. But what would be even worse would be if you spent all this money, nothing happened, and then you spent all this money again because you didn't change your tactics, because you didn't do the right research at the end of the experiment. You know, and this comes from not falling in love with your experiment too. You know, if you're a scientist, you know, the analogy I made earlier about, you know, let's say you're injecting the gerbil with the crazy serum that's going to make him a vampire gerbil. Okay, so let's say you're doing that. If you invented the serum and you were like super passionate about it and you really wanted it to succeed and you got emotionally attached to it, then you would, you know, be much more likely to not want to measure the results because you're afraid of what might happen and it might disprove the thing that you love is wrong and that kind of thing. But scientists approach it basically in sort of an emotionless state where they say, you know, hey, this may be true, this may not be true. We don't know. We're going to find out what's true. We're going to report back what's true, that kind of thing. That all comes from, you know, kind of a fundamental belief that they're not going to be afraid of the result. And a fundamental belief that the new findings could possibly take them in a completely different direction. Again, the real reason that we measure anything is so that we can do it better the next time. I mean, you should write that down somewhere. We measure everything to make sure that we do it better the next time. The marketing communications needs to always sort of be about that. Tip number 2. Make sure you budget for measurement. As I mentioned, you know, if you need to do baseline surveys, if you need to do, you know, a couple of surveys of your customers, if you need to, do, you know, whatever it is you need to do. I almost said focus groups, but nobody really does focus groups anymore because we all kind of know that people are just lying, you know, and that isn't necessarily how the market's going to respond. But make sure that you have a budget for your measurement. Make sure that you have included that in your proposals and your plans, that you're going to measure in this way. And yeah, there's a cost associated with measurement, but you want that cost. You want to make sure that cost is in there. It's really important. You take it out of there, and I've seen people do that. And then again, you have no idea what you did, and you have no idea what you're going to do the next time because you kind of cut off your feedback mechanism. You know, these surveys, and sometimes, you know, they can be kind of expensive, and the monitoring tools that we use aren't free either. So make sure that you, you know, or they're not all free. You know, like Google alerts are free. You know, TalkWalker alerts are free, and those kind of things. But if you engage in, if you're on the PR side, if you have a system like Cision or Meltwater or Burrell's Loose, and you know, any of those kind of things, you have any of those kind of monitoring, you know, services, you know, or Muckrack, those kind of things. Those tools aren't free. So make sure budget. I see people miss that a lot in their programs. So do that. Tip number 3, know why you are measuring something. You know, again, and agree, you know, between you, your team, the CEO, whoever's going to see it, make sure you agree on what we're doing and what success is going to look like. I've seen that before too, you know, where a company's like, you know what I like to measure, and you know, I like to measure sales and growth and those kind of things. I wrote a blog post, I guess, about a couple of years ago, where I said the only metric that matters in marketing is sales, is money, and I believe that to be true. I think that, you know, if you're going to spend, if a company's going to spend money on something, if they're going to invest in marketing, then that marketing has a responsibility to produce a return on that investment, you know, and hopefully the return is going to be many times X what the cost was to get it. That's how you prove that what you're doing is going to be, you know, it is something that is of value. But make sure that you, on this tip, know what you're measuring and agree on that kind of stuff, and agree on it before the tactics ever happen. And I know that can be kind of tough because we're in a fast-paced world. You know, people are, executing in like 24, 48 hour period of a campaign or something. But just have an idea of what success looks like, and what success looks like to you as the marketer, but what does it look like to the people that are, your quote unquote clients? If you're reporting to the CEO, what does success look like to him or her? What does success look like to the board of directors? What does success, kind of look like? And you can educate them to a certain period and say, for our purposes, I think success should be this. I think the goalpost should be, 100 yards away, and then we'll know that we scored 6 points with an option to kick, get an extra point or extra 2-point conversion when we have advanced, 100 yards and we've crossed this line right here, this line right here. That's the end zone line. If we cross this, then we know we got 6 points. If it's 4th and 1 and they stop us short of that, then yeah, we made it all the way to that goalpost, and it was great and it was awesome. We got good pictures of us catching the ball and getting ourselves all the way down there. But if we didn't get the 6 points, then did we succeed or did we fail? And believe me, that question and that answer are very subjective depending on who's asking and who's answering. So I think it's always important to figure out kind of what success looks like. It's one of the first things I discuss with my clients. When we engage on a campaign or we're engaging on some work together, I say, what does success look like here? When we start and do a trade show campaign for BandLab, for example, we say, okay, we want to have, positive conversations with 25 or 30 media outlets that are important to us, important to our audiences, throughout the course of the show. And then from those conversations, we're also going to get some media coverage and those kind of things, but we tend to try to measure our relationships is a good way to say it, especially that's one thing you can definitely measure on PR is just, how are your relationships looking with the press? Are they showing up all the time? Are they treating the company fairly in the press? Those kind of things. Really important stuff. I'll tell you what, really important. It gets ignored a lot too. Tip number 4, sometimes you really do, as a marketing person in an organization, you have to go deeper. You have to be kind of a pest, and you have to find out about sales. You have to find out about leads, about growth. You have to knock down walls to get that information. And I've had people, when I run my own public relations marketing firm, I've had clients come back and say, well, we don't really want to share our sales or revenue with you, and that kind of thing. And they're like, why do you need that information? And I'm like, because that's what I'm measuring. And then there's kind of a pause, and they're like, aren't you going to measure media impressions? And I'm like, yeah, we are going to measure media impressions, but what I really want to measure is, are we growing? Are we having an impact on your business? Because if we're not helping you grow, if we're not having an impact on your business, then we're not earning our money. Then we don't deserve to be here. And then, this isn't marriage. It's like this is about providing value. You don't have to, stay in an unhappy marketing, communications relationship if you're not getting what you need out of it. So, and I'm the first one to be there and recognize that and push for that. It's really, really important. And if you are listening and you're a CEO out there and you're a somebody outside the marketing department, let marketing in on that information. Marketing becomes a great deal more dangerous when they know about how are we doing on sales? How are we doing? Where are we getting our leads from? Where are we growing from? Open that stuff up. It's going to do absolutely nothing but help your marketing efforts, And to the marketing people, like I said, sometimes you have to go knocking down some walls to get the information, because you're not the first person in the world. You're not the first person in the organization that those parts of the organization want to share it with. You make a big sale. When does marketing hear about it? Do they hear about it first, or are they close? Are they much closer to hearing about it last? Definitely much closer to hearing about it last. In my experience, that's just how it goes. If you have an organization where that's not the case, then kudos to you. But I'm just saying, in the real world, that's how it goes. Tip number 5. measurement is a changing animal, like almost everything we do in marketing. So stay up on the latest measurement info. There are all kinds of blogs dedicated to measurement. My favorite reading around measurement, I love spinsucks.com. It is so great. It is such a refreshing look at, the PR profession without sort of, baskets of cookies, and I'm a people person, so I'm in PR kind of stuff. It is, when you want to look at PR as a leadership and a management function of the organization, SpinSucks strips away a lot of stuff, and really, really, really good content all the time on that website. So big shout out to them. And also PRSA, the Public Relations Society of America, they have ongoing conversations and posts about measurement, including the setting the standards of measurement. You've heard of the Barcelona standards for measurement that PRSA uses, where basically it's a little bit complicated, but basically it shows that as people sort of move down the funnel of loving you, the funnel of love, that they there are different communication tactics that you need to kind of switch to and measure at different stages. Look up the revised or the Barcelona principles, and you can kind of see what I'm talking about. One problem that I have with the Barcelona principles too is that it's not going to be the same process for every type of organization. And if you work with smaller companies, it can be a lot of it takes like an entire weekend retreat kind of to explain the Barcelona principles and what we're doing. But if we have a conversation about how many leads did we get yesterday, that's a very real conversation and much easier to do. But not to discount that. I'm just saying that other different organizations, different sizes are going to behave differently. So, but check that out. Stay up on the latest stuff. Measurement changes. If we were having this conversation 10 years ago, we would be having a conversation about advertising equivalency for sure. And that's really kind of out of favor now, just so you know. Well, what have we learned today, folks? We know that great marketing must be measured. And even though there are a lot of disagreements about the best way to do that, we must always strive to complete the 5-step communication process with great feedback so that we know what to do next. It's not our industry's, sexiest or most creative work, but when you really, really think about it, it is critically important to what it is that we're actually trying to do out there. And that's it from me, marketing fans. Until next week, this has been Scott Robertson, host of May the Best Brand Win on Entertalk Media. Rock on. Have a great weekend. We'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye. You know what's all around you every waking moment of your life? Marketing. You're choking on it. I'm Scott Robertson, and when it comes to strategic PR, branding, and marketing, I've seen it all. And actually, I'm still seeing it because bad marketing never sleeps. Join me each week on May the Best Brand Win, right here on Entertalk Radio, and learn how to make the marketing for your brand unforgettable.
Hi, this is Tim Dolbear from Eclectica Studios. I'm a full-time mixing and recording engineer. I work with Grammy winners, labels, and indie artists, using state-of-the-art digital mixing and restoration tools and the very best in analog gear. Really, though, it's my ability to bring tracks to life and fulfill your vision for your music. This has made me sought after by producers and artists worldwide. So spend your time working on music and not chasing a mix down a rabbit hole. Go to timdolbear.com and check out our free one-song mix offer.
Are you serious about your music? Are you ready to run with the big dogs? The experts at Pitbull Audio have the gear to get you into the game. From leading manufacturers like Mesa Boogie, Fender, Pioneer, and American Audio. To sound your best, you need the best. Pitbull Audio can deliver in rehearsal, on stage, and into the big time. Dropping beats, shredding guitar, or making the crowd roar. Whatever you dream, Pitbull Audio can help make it happen. We are Pitbull Audio. We want you to play it loud. PitbullAudio.com.
This is Jackie Bertoni from Jackie's Groove. Come join me weekly on my journey through the music business as I take you behind the velvet rope, interviewing industry notables such as Al Di Meola, Michael McDonald, and Al Jarreau, to name but a few. Listen to their stories on being in the studios recording #1 hits and onto the stages throughout the globe. Allow me to be your music historian. You can hear me live every Monday at 2 p.m. and every Wednesday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time or 24/7 on jackiesgroove.com. Ready to get your groove on?